So we chatted about the adorable couple possibly calling it quits in yesterday's pop news. Sources now saying busy schedules and trust issues are to blame. These stars break up and make up just like the rest of us. But when you're considered a high-profile, young power couple, it becomes Hollywood's biggest headline.
The untold story behind Hollywood's most viral feud right now. Everyone's talking about it, but almost no one actually understands what's really going on. What started as a few subtle comments quickly turned into one of Hollywood's most viral feuds right now.
We met when I was a child. We were both kids, and Justin was performing at the Today Show. And the way it actually went is that when my uncle was still shooting the TV show 30 Rock, every time there was like a performer at the Today Show, because they would film it at.
Social media exploded, fans picked sides, and suddenly every post, every interview, every silence started to feel intentional. But here's the strange part, the story being shared online. It's only a fraction of the truth. Behind the headlines, there's a timeline that doesn't quite add up. Moments that seem small on the surface, but mean something very different when you connect them. And once you see the full picture, this doesn't look like drama anymore. It looks calculated.
We met in the early mornings of a Today Show taping. Pretty sure she didn't want to be there. I think because she was raised Christian, and I think they found out that I think it was an arranged marriage, I'm pretty sure. I'm not.
And maybe it always was. At first, it didn't look like a feud at all. There was no public argument, no direct call-out, no explosive moment that people could point to and say, that's where it began. Instead, it started the way most modern Hollywood conflicts do, quietly, almost invisibly, hidden inside interviews, social media posts, and small details that only the most attentive fans noticed. The two figures at the center of this situation, Hailey Bieber and Selena Gomez, were never strangers to public speculation. For years, their names had been linked through one shared connection, Justin Bieber. But what made this moment different?
Above that, and you're gonna have to take my word for this one because I don't have it, but she said, "What hotel is Justin staying at? Kylie and I want to."
Was timing. It began with what seemed like a harmless online interaction. A short video, a subtle expression. A comment that, on its own, meant almost nothing. But when placed against years of history, fans began to read between the lines. And that's where things escalated. Social media didn't just react, it analyzed. Every post became evidence. Old clips resurfaced. Interviews from years ago were reinterpreted with a new lens. What once felt like unrelated moments suddenly formed a pattern people couldn't ignore. One of the biggest turning points came when fans believed they spotted indirect references, what many called shade. Nothing explicit, no names mentioned. But the tone, the timing, it felt too—
No, I'm single,
fine.
yeah.
You're fine.
I'm
I think,
so good.
Good, yeah.
precise to be accidental. Within hours, millions of users were debating the same question. Was this intentional or just coincidence? The internet chose a side quickly. Supporters of Selena Gomez began defending her, pointing to past interviews where she spoke about personal struggles, public pressure, and being misunderstood. To them, this wasn't just drama. It was history repeating itself. On the other side, Hailey Bieber's supporters pushed back, arguing that she had been unfairly dragged into a narrative she didn't create. They pointed out how often assumptions were made without direct proof, and right there, that divide became fuel. Because once audiences emotionally invest in a story, they don't just—
No strings attached.
Nope.
No, free and loose.
Yep.
So sometimes you may just see a boy walking down the street and he says, let's grab an ice cream, you're available.
Yep.
Okay, completely available in every way.
Yep.
Okay.
watch it unfold. They drive it forward. What made this feud explode wasn't a single event. It was accumulation, a TikTok clip that went viral overnight, an Instagram story that people slowed down frame by frame, a comment section that turned into a battleground. Each moment added pressure, and then something even more powerful happened. Silence. Neither side immediately addressed the situation directly. And in today's digital world, silence isn't neutral. It creates space. Space for theories, space for assumptions, space for narratives to grow without resistance. That silence allowed the story to evolve far beyond reality. People weren't just reacting anymore. They were constructing.
It concerns me more about the lack of media literacy that people have than this viral 7-part series about Haley, Selena, and Justin. And I didn't even need to watch that entire video to know that I was going to be watching a bunch of bullshit. But just so we're clear, I investigated several claims within the first 90 seconds, and there are multiple lies. So if a video is set up to start with lies, what do you think you're gonna get throughout the rest of the video?
Timelines, connecting dots, creating explanations that felt convincing even when they weren't confirmed. And the more viral it became, the harder it was to control, because at a certain point, a feud stops belonging to the people involved and starts belonging to the audience. That's exactly what happened here. Brands got pulled into the conversation. Fan pages began posting daily updates. Influencers started breaking down evidence like investigators. What should have been a small, contained moment turned into a full-scale digital phenomenon. And yet, underneath all of it, one uncomfortable truth remained. There was still no clear, direct confirmation of conflict, no public confrontation, no verified statement declaring a feud, no undeniable proof that everything people believed was actually happening the way they thought. And that's what makes this story so unusual. Because it exists in a space between reality and perception, a place where tone matters more than words, where timing feels like intention.
We'll hang out, we'll see her every now and then, and we'll talk, and that's pretty much it.
Where people don't need proof, they just need something that feels true. But if you look closely, there's another layer most people missed. Because while the internet was focused on decoding posts and defending sides, something else was unfolding in the background, something quieter, more controlled, and possibly far more deliberate than anyone realized at the time. And once you start to see that layer, this stops looking like a spontaneous feud, and starts looking like something else entirely. By the time the feud reached its peak, it had already taken on a life of its own. But if you step back from the noise, the edits, the comments, the endless breakdowns, you start to notice something different, something that doesn't quite match the chaos.
Expect the real me in this, and probably the me that they've never gotten to know, certainly not in the past few years, where everything is through the lens of the media, as opposed to, hey.
Most people believed they were watching, because while the internet was escalating everything, the people at the center of it weren't. That contrast is where things get interesting. Take Selena Gomez, for example. At the height of the speculation, instead of fueling the situation, she posted messages that leaned in the opposite direction. Calm, measured, even encouraging kindness. At one point, she directly asked fans to stop sending hate. That doesn't align with someone trying to win a public feud. And then there's Hailey Bieber. Despite being at the center of intense scrutiny, she didn't engage in direct confrontation either. No aggressive responses. No attempts to escalate publicly. In fact, much of what she said, when she did speak, focused on shutting down negativity rather than feeding it. So here's the contradiction. If
watching Justin Bieber seasons on YouTube, you could...
But what really happened through the process of doing seasons is I realized that I was able to tell my story about who I was from...
This was truly a heated personal feud. Why didn't either side act like it? That's where the untold part of this story begins, because what people were reacting to wasn't direct conflict. It was interpretation. A look in a video became a statement. A caption became a message. A coincidence became a theory. And once millions of people start interpreting the same moments in the same way, perception starts to feel like fact, but perception can be shaped. And in Hollywood, whether intentional or not, attention is currency. Every viral moment increases visibility. Every trending topic expands reach. Every debate keeps names circulating in the public eye. Now, this doesn't mean the situation was staged or planned. There's no verified evidence proving that. But it does highlight something more subtle and arguably more powerful. The system itself amplifies conflict, even when the people involved don't. That's why this story spiraled the way it did. Not because of a confirmed feud, but because of how modern audiences consume content. We don't just watch anymore, we analyze. We don't just react, we interpret.
That everybody else seemed to be narrating my life for me.
Yes.
So why don't I put something out that is my side of the story?
We don't just follow stories, we build them. And once a narrative forms, it becomes incredibly difficult to stop, even when the people involved try to de-escalate it. In fact, sometimes attempts to calm things down have the opposite effect. Fans begin questioning motives, they read deeper into statements, they assume there's something hidden beneath the surface, and suddenly, even peace starts to look suspicious. That's exactly what happened here. What could have remained a minor moment turned into a global conversation, not because of what was clearly said or done, but because of what people believed was being implied. And that raises a bigger question. How many viral feuds today are actually real? And how many are constructed in real time by the audience? Because when you strip this story down to its core, there's no explosive confrontation, no defining moment where everything broke apart. Just fragments, moments, reactions, and a massive digital ecosystem that connected them into something much bigger than they originally were. That's the part most people don't see. The feud wasn't just between two individuals, it was between perception and reality, and perception won. So now that you've seen the full picture, the question isn't just, who was right? It's, were we watching a feud or creating one? If you found this breakdown eye-opening, make sure you like the video, share it with someone who's been following this drama, and subscribe for more deep dives into stories that aren't as simple as they seem, because the next viral headline you see might not be the full story either.